I'd now like to go through a few of the settings and parameters on the machine. Once you have a case, you can see that there is this yellow drop-down arrow on the top left side. If you left click and drop that down, you can see we have Start Screen, and if I left click on Start Screen, it opens a whole new case. So you can see at this point we now have a case that I can open up. I can go back now. I'm going to reopen this case. Now if you have not saved the case, it will prompt you to save it before you close it. So our next one is the save, and if you're doing a lot of editing, not a bad idea to every once in a while go up and click save, and that just saves this on the file so you don't lose any of your changes that you've made to your restorations. You can also save as, so you can change this and save it as a different person if you would like. You can also import a file. You can export a file. This is just standard import and export file. So if you click an import file, you would choose where the file is located, whether it's on your desktop or wherever you had it, if a thumb drive, and then import that file. You can also export a file, and if I click export, you can see that I can export it as a PDF, an RST, or a DXD file. The RST are restoration files, and a DXD file allows you to open it in other programs. So we're going to cancel that. And you can see there's run applications. Run applications, what that means is there is right now only one application, and that is PrepCheck. It's available for the schools, not so much for military yet. License Manager, I want to go through that for just a second. License Manager will enable you to check what your license status is. If I go here to Status and left click, you can see that I have this license drive number, and all the licenses are listed on this. This is what I have permission to use. You can see I've got PrepCheck Master, Software 4.4, InLab Stack, so the Ortho software. All these are loaded onto this license. So anytime that you get a new update and it requires a license, this is where you will load it. So that's the status. If I go to check the internet connection and click check internet connection, now this is where military is going to have an issue. You're going to have to tether it to a phone. It's going to ask you to type in a 25-letter license key, and then it'll say whether it's valid or not. You can see I just made up numbers, so this is invalid. Once that is approved, you then just go to this screen where it says activation. This will be highlighted. You'll click on it, and then on the lower corner it'll also say activate, and that's how you're going to activate your license. So I'm going to close that. You know, the drop-down list again. Configurations I'm going to skip for a minute, and I'm going to show you Windows mode. By going to Windows mode, you can see that the plus and minus arrows go away. So if I want to minimize a restoration, I can click that and it goes to the bottom of my screen, and then I'm able to open that back up by using the plus and the minus. X will shut it down, and it'll ask me current job not saved, you want to save it now, and you would hit either yes or no, and I'm going to cancel that. And then this is also new. This is a help menu, and if I click the help menu, you can see this is we're going to click allow block content. This really has nothing to do with much of anything, but I'm going to go to index, and you can see that you have articulator, parameters, dynamic contact strength. We can go through everything, and you can also see it's in German and then also in English. So if you want to know how to do the license manager, just like we just looked at, this is going to be how you're going to do the license codes. Okay, so everything you need to know is really already embedded in the Cerec system. So I can go to home if I need to, and then I'm just going to hit the red X and close out of that. Now the other thing I want to show you is anytime you see this light bulb here in the corner, now it's not highlighted because we haven't gone far enough yet, but anytime that light bulb is highlighted, if I left click on it, the help windows are going to populate in open. We'll show you that in a few minutes. So I'm going to drop down again. The last thing I want to talk about is configuration. Configuration, again, we have apps. I'm going to start from the right and go left. Here you can see, here's the App Center, and if you click on this, it will take you to the Sirona Application Center, and you can find additional softwares and downloads. Okay, so we're going to go backwards. Right now, the only thing that is in there is Prep Check. Now, settings, there are a few things that are different. If we go to Favorite Materials, I'm going to left click on Favorite Materials. You can see we have 3 favorite materials that we can put in here. And if I uncheck one, now I only have the 1, and I can go up to 3. Now where this comes into play is in the administration screen, and what this will do is it just limits the number of clicks you have to make. Now I personally use Ivoclar, and then I use Emacs CAD probably 90% of the time. Anything else I will choose, but because I use this so much, I'm going to use this and have 1 favorite material. Once we're done with that, and again, you can have up to 3, I'm going to click OK. And then I'm not going to exit the configuration. I'm going to go backwards, and I'm going to go to this MCXL milling. We can either activate or deactivate this burr. This burr is used for cutting zirconia and for the plastic long-term temporaries. In order to activate it, you will click Activate, and then as you can see, you have to have one of these machines. So the serial number has to be higher for an MCXL number 129001. Same thing for in-lab, premium packages. Anything above this will be able to run this burr. Anything below it will not be able to do it. So we'll hit OK. And it doesn't matter if you leave it activated or deactive. If your machine won't run it, it won't allow you to choose it anyways. So we're going to go backwards. Language, obviously this is all the different languages that you can put in. I'm going to have English United States and go backwards. Sirona Server, what this is going to do eventually is you're going to be able to pick up all the different server settings. Right now this is in its infancy, and most military and schools will not have this. So we're going to go backwards. Restoration calculation. Make sure that calculate multiple restorations is checked. Okay, so you can do more than 1 restoration at a time. We're going to go back. Patient database. Most of the databases are going to be set up for D data. Now it's very important that you do this because the D drive is much larger than the C drive. If this has not been set up by Sirona or Patterson, then I would suggest you contact the Sirona tech support and ask them how to change this. It's quite simple to do, but I'm not going to go into any details right now. But you really want to put this on the D drive because the D drive is much larger. I'm going to go backwards. Warning messages. This is where you'll reset all warning messages. So in other words, if you have turned some of the warning messages off and you have new users and you want them all to see it, you'll click the reset button and that turns them all back on. And we're going to go backwards. And the last one is ADA FDI notification. The FDI notification is the different quadrants are numbered 1 through 4 and then tooth number 1 through 8. So you may have tooth number 43 or 44. If you see that, it's just the FDI notification. So you want to click on ADA notification. Now I'm not going to exit configuration again. I'm going to go backwards. And the next thing we're going to go to are options. So I'm going to click on the options. Byte registration, we're going to deactivate that. Okay, this was a throwback to old software and some people wanted it left in, but we're not going to use it. Articulation, I'm going to advise you to activate it, but not use it for the initial proposal. So you're going to hit activate and no. And the reason why is sometimes if this is activated too early, the initial proposals do not come out as nicely as if you had this unactivated for initial proposal. This we'll get into at a later date. Smile design, again, this is going to allow you to put photographs into the Cerec system, and we can activate this. And again, you don't have to use it, it just activates it. So if you happen to want to use it, you can do that. Now we're going to keep going backwards, and we're going to go to devices. Now you're going to see that it's updating, it's looking for my machine, and I just realized that it's not turned on. So I'm going to get a exclamation point in this red triangle, which means that it is not available. Okay, it's not turned on. What I'm going to do is we really don't have anything in here to show you other than how to calibrate it, and we'll do that at a later time. I will show you the Omni camera though, and there are a couple of things that you need to do. Acquisition hints. What this does is it shows you where some of the places that you missed may be, and it shows up as yellow on the screen. As you're a new user, you may want to turn this on. I will turn it on for now, and we'll just see. I'll show you later on what that looks like. We can always shut it off. Sounds. You can see that we can turn the volume up, and there's 3 different sounds. This was the original sound, kind of sounds like a Geiger counter. Sound number 2 is music, and then sound number 3 is music also. I personally like sound number 2, so that's where I normally will set mine. Once you configure this, and I'm going to turn the sound down just a little bit, and then I'm going to say OK. Resetting the camera settings does just that. It resets everything. Calibrate is how we calibrate the camera, and we will also show you that later. Update firmware is for the camera, and if I click on this, firmware updates are actually built into the software disk. So as this is installed the very first time, you have to hit update the firmware or else your camera will not work. So this only applies as you do a new install, or if the tech support at Sirona tells you to do this at a later time. So I'm just going to cancel that firmware update. So we're just going to confirm it. Camera heater settings. Now this is very important for new users. You can see I can roll this down and we can have very low heat, low, medium, high, and very high. Remember we showed you earlier the triangle that the camera sits on is the heater, and that's this location in the front. One of the things I advise you to do is always set this on very high. It never gets hot enough to burn a patient. Matter of fact, they normally comment that, you know, it kind of feels very nice because most of our instruments are a little bit cold, and this one is nice and warm and it won't fog up. If you have this turned down too low, and if you spend more time scanning and not on the heater, what will happen? This will cool off and cause you to have issues with fogging. So start off with this being very high. Always remember that you have to hit the OK button. All right, calibration. This is where you would calibrate the camera, and we're going to go into how this works. As you can see, it gives you a camera ID number, and it is located here, and it has to also coordinate with this number that is on your calibration specimen. We'll get into this at a later time also. So we're going to hit OK, and then I'm going to cancel it. Calibration failed. I'm going to confirm it. We're going to now go backwards, and again, here's my machine. It's looking for the milling chamber. I don't have it, so we're going to go backwards again. And that's everything that I'd like to talk about. We're going to do another short video on parameters. So we're going to stop here, and then we'll do parameters next.